Sorry about that. I always seem to get interrupted by a phone call. Last week it was a medical tone. I can never sit through one of these trainings without zero interruptions. But we'll hopefully let's get through the rest of this thing and get out of here. So where was I? Oh yeah, so snow. If it's a snowy environment, the search and rescue mode on this tick is designed for that threshold. Woods, again, if you're looking for a missing person in the woods. You can use this for wildland fires. If you're looking for hot spots underground, you see roots, you want to see if there's any roots on fire, anything, again, underground. So, the extent that any of us have played with this tick, right? No one's, as far as I know, since 2017, there really hasn't been a structure fire in Castine. I don't know that this thing's ever been in a structure fire. I assume that it has not. So anyone here that's played with this specific tick, the extent of it's been, run outside and we'll try to find you, hide behind a wall, or, sit in a chair for a little while, wiggle your butt around and stand up. Let's see if we can see your butt imprint with the heat detection. And so what that is, the environment around the person is colder than the person is in ambient air. Right now it's probably about 70 in this room, and my body temperature is 98.6, hopefully. So you are warmer than the environment when you're not in a fire. So what we do, what this does on the gray scale or on any of these scales, if we're pointing and shooting at our buddies, we're messing around with this thing and we're doing a training on it. What we're looking for, we see a dark environment with white blobs, and those white blobs are people. Now, something to understand about the grayscale is that the darker the image is, the darker the shape is, the colder it is. So therefore, the lighter the image is, the hotter it is. So white hot, right? So white is extremely hot, at least relatively to the environment, and this auto adjusts depending on the environment and depending on how, what the different temperature range is in the field of view. So if I had someone standing in the corner and I pointed this at them, their body is going to appear as a white blob and the background is going to be dark. Now the issue with this is that as we train with this, as we play with this, we're looking for human beings that are a white blob and a black background because we are warmer than our environment. When we actually have to take this thing into a fire, human beings aren't going to be white, right? Because they're going to be just as warm as the environment around them. When you have a fire, the fire is radiating off of everything. It's radiating off walls, off the ceiling, off furniture, and off people. So therefore, relatively, a victim is going to appear the same color as the rest of the room. They're not going to be a white blob. They might be a darker blob, if anything. So that's kind of the catch-22 with training with these things is, when we're up here in the station, we point at someone, we see them as a white blob. We have to remember when we actually go into a structure fire, we're not looking for a white blob, we're looking for a dark blob, or more realistically, a blob that is the same color as the rest of the environment, because the human body, the victim's body, is receiving the same amount of radiant heat as every object around it. So we have to use the tick to distinguish different objects, different shapes, right? Anything man-made has a tendency to be pretty straight. The human eye does a very, very good job of perceiving patterns and perceiving perfect lines. So normally anything man-made, like I said, is straight lines. We look at this board behind me, it's all straight lines. The corners of this room, the edge of the ceiling where the molding is, everything's very straight. Even the chairs that we have, they're just very straight lines. A human being isn't going to be straight lines. It's not going to be boxy. We're blobs. I'm a little blobbier than most. We're all blobs. So therefore, you need to use this tick, and you have to remember that someone's body isn't going to be a different color. You want to look for shapes when you're in an actual fire with this thing. So as you're panning around, you have to distinguish the blob. Now the blob could be a pile of clothes. It could be that you're seeing a bed with all the straight lines and a blob on top of it. So you use the tick to identify, all right, there's a bed there. It looks like there's some kind of blobby thing on it. Let me go feel the blobs. Oh, no, it was just a blanket. We can move on. But again, like I said earlier, we have to remember to not get tunnel vision while using the tick. We don't want to just walk into a building holding this thing and forget about a right-hand search, because as with anything that we use, this is a tool. This isn't something that is part of our body. You know, this isn't our hands. So we can't deviate from a right-hand search, or if we're going in following a hose line, we don't want to jump off the hose line or jump off the wall, take our hand off the wall because we have a tick. The tick doesn't mean anything. When this thing dies, if the battery dies, God forbid, or if it fails for some reason, and you've just been following it aimlessly, not on a wall, not on a hose line, you're in the middle of a room. This thing fails, how are you going to get out? So again, this is a tool. It's supplemental to our skills, our bread and butter as a firefighter. This isn't meant to take the place of a right-hand search or following a hose line. This is meant to supplement our search and rescue, and meant to supplement our capabilities to find, investigate, and extinguish a fire. So when, where am I? Yeah, so like I said, the human eye is good at predicting patterns. We want to be able to distinguish those patterns. When we're panning with this thing, it's important to not just sit there on the screen and yep, right? You want to, one of the ways that this was, one of the things this was called in a training that I watched was, they called it leapfrog searching, right? So you go in with your buddy and you're pointing at stuff, and instead of being like, yeah, all right, okay, we've got a table over here, I'm gonna go look at the table. We've got a couch over here, I'm gonna go look at the couch. You're gonna direct them, right? A primary search is quick and dirty. So, I mean, something as simple as, all right, we see a table, go check the table. It looks like we've got a blob over there, table over there. As they're checking the table, okay. All right, we've got a couch over there. When you're done with that, go check the couch. Keep searching. It's important not to just straight up pan and be fixated and have that tunnel vision on the screen. That's how we miss things. Even though this is used to distinguish shapes, objects that are different colors in the environment, we want to remember again that this is to supplement. This isn't a standalone tool. This isn't this isn't what we are relying on completely. Because what we rely on completely is our hands, our sense of feeling, our sense of touch, and our eyes and our ears. Right? This doesn't supplement any one of those things. So yeah, like I said, aim and direct, that leapfrog, there are two different terms for it. Aim and direct, you point at it, say, hey, go check over there, they check over there. Another thing, so I said how a human body, I keep saying body, let's hope it's not a body, a victim is going to be relatively the same color as their environment because they're receiving the same amount of radiant heat that their environment is. We have to remember that firefighters, we have something going on for us. You know, if you're on a RIT team, you're going in with a tick. We're actually able to distinguish other firefighters a little better with the thermal imaging camera than someone that's not in fire gear, and that's because of our SCBAs. We got compressed air in a cylinder, and as that compressed air leaves that cylinder, it cools rapidly. So with every breath you take, the cylinder cools a little bit more, and it cools a little bit more. Therefore, if you're in a building, you're going to see a firefighter in their turnout gear, and their turnout gear is receiving the same amount of heat as their environment, so it's the same color, but their cylinder is going to be like a dark gray, almost black blob, because it's cooler, it's relatively cooler than the rest of their body and the rest of the environment, because it's cooling with every breath you take as that air escapes the cylinder. It cools. That's stuff we learn in physics, or the engineers learn in whatever class the engineers take. I wouldn't know. But yeah, it is imperative if you're going in a RIT team to remember that look for the cylinder of a downed firefighter, because that's easier to distinguish against a gray background than their turnout gear or the traditional blobby human form is. Like I said, the tick's a tool. It can fail. Make sure you're not relying completely on that. Yeah, and something else to remember, if you're coming in, if you're coming into a room, into a dwelling, some kind of space where there's hazy smoke, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of smoke in the air. It's hot, it's dark. You want to use the tick to distinguish the different pieces of furniture. So say you're doing a right-hand search, you're on the wall, you're checking out the different pieces. You're like, okay, I know I have a table and a chair and a couch ahead of me. I'm going to put the tick down and feel my way for the table and chair and couch. When I found that couch, I'm like, okay, I know we've got a little end table with a lamp on it, and then we got a doorway. So you feel your way. End table, yep, there's the lamp, and here's the doorway. We don't want to just follow this thing blindly. Use your other senses, especially sight and feeling, in addition to the thermal imaging camera. The other thing that they say that this is really good for, obviously, is seeing heat waves. So if we're coming down a hallway, you can toss this thing into the NFPA firefighting mode, and you'll be able to see heat waves as they come around the corner. As you know, because the fire's radiating heat, it's radiating that energy, and it's heating up the air around it rapidly. So even if there's a fire down a hallway, you're gonna see the waves of heat, almost like if you were looking at like tar on a hot day, and you can see that kind of hazy heat coming off the tar. It's the same thing on the tick. You'll be able to see the heat coming around the corner. So you might not be able to actually see the flames, you might not see the actual fire, but what you will see is that heat, and you can direct your team. Hey guys, we've got about another 10 feet, looks like there's a corner, I see heat coming that way. Once we hit that corner, the fire's somewhere there. I don't know how far back it is. We'll figure that out when we get there, but the fire's somewhere down that hallway to the left. I can see the heat coming out the corner. It's as easy as that. These ticks are extremely useful for a lot of things, as you've heard. Anything from search and rescue to interior firefighting, especially scene size up. The officer that's doing the 360 ideally should have a tick with them, so they can check out hotspots on the outside of the building. There's many more uses for these things other than what I've just covered here. This has been a relatively short training on what could be, a week-long course with FLIR, or FLIR, however you want to say it, FLIR. So I've touched some stuff. Like I said, there's a lot more that I haven't covered. If you can think of anything else, any other uses for this, let me know. Like, shoot out an email to everyone. Be like, hey, in addition to what Corey said, I thought about X, Y, Z. Like, the tick would be good for this, that, and that. Input's great. We spend a lot of time doing these trainings, putting together these trainings every week. And recently, we haven't gotten a ton of feedback. And we really appreciate the feedback. So any feedback, even if it's, in addition to what I've said, correcting anything I've said, because I'm not perfect. I definitely screw up. I definitely say things that aren't necessarily factual. So, anything. We like to hear the feedback, and the place to do that is in the comments section of the attendance form. So if you've gotten this far and you don't have any feedback, just write, none. That way we know that, you're paying attention for the feedback, but, you don't really have anything. You don't have anything you want to give for feedback. If you do have some feedback, type it in that little box, and we'll look at it, and we'll go. If you had an idea that supplements what I've said today, we'll talk about it next week in the training and be like, oh, so and so brought up the tick is also good for that. So just let us know. I hope you enjoyed this training. Sorry for that interruption with the phone call, and I hope this wasn't too long. I appreciate you guys watching, as always. It's a beautiful day in Castine. It's almost shorts weather. It actually definitely is shorts weather, but wish you all were here. And until then, I'll be enjoying the weather up here for you. Thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you next Tuesday.